And you spoke to another leader from the Democratic Party for some of his career. Throughout his 24 years in U.S. Congress, the former Connecticut Senator Joe Liberman worked hard to maintain the good relations between Washington and Jerusalem. The veteran Democratic lawmaker who famously endorsed Republican John McCain over Obama in the 2008 U.S. elections and then later became an independent was in Israel this week to receive the Guardian of Zion Award from Bar Ilan University. Had a few other former recipients were Elie Wiesel, for example. I-24 News diplomatic correspondent Tal, you sat down with Liberman this week. Let's take a look at your report.
Senator Liberman, thank you for speaking with us.
Pleasure.
You arrive here just a week after the new Israeli government has been sworn in, and many in the world and in the United States have expressed concerns from the makeup and ideology of Netanyahu's new government. Are you concerned?
Well, in the end, am I concerned about the makeup of the new government? You know, it's not my business. What I am concerned about is making sure that U.S.-Israel relations not only stay where they are, but frankly get better. And part of that is the commitment that Prime Minister Netanyahu has made to a two-state solution. And more generally, the importance, in my opinion, of Israel being on the initiative in regard to the peace process with the Palestinians. I know how difficult, realistically, it is today to achieve a peace with the Palestinians for various reasons, but no one should ever be able to say of an Israeli government that they have not been trying hard to achieve a just peace.
But we do see a process of Israel losing support amongst various sectors and publics in the United States, if we're talking about the Democratic Party, if we're talking about minorities, if we're talking about the young generation, or even American Jewry itself. Many of them complain that there's a contradiction between their support of Israel and their liberalism. How do you settle that contradiction?
So things are not as bad for Israel in the U.S. as some people think. I mean, in terms of the relationship between Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Obama, there's obviously been tensions between them, but I think the reality is much better than the media portrays or politicians portray. Now, I don't sit back on the comfortable chair and say everything is beautiful in the U.S. for Israel, because there are increasing concerns about places, some within the left of the Democratic Party, some on college campuses, where people are not now reflexively pro-Israel. And I think one of the things that we have to do, and I speak of this as a Democrat, is that we have to remind people in America who raise these questions about Israel that Israel is by far the most liberal country in the Middle East. It's a country of the rule of law. It's a country that recognizes human rights, diversity of population, free expression. There's a lot of aggressive politics here in Israel, but no government locks up its opponents the way it happens in other countries around the world.
You were one of the staunchest supporters of Netanyahu's Congress speech, but eventually, when we look back, how much impact do you think it really had? Did it not have any counter effect by creating a sort of partisan divide on Israel and Iran?
I thought the speech itself was compelling and actually helped to build opposition to the negotiations that are going on now, if they don't get better, with Iran about their nuclear program. I mean, everything in Washington today is partisan, so the reaction to Prime Minister Netanyahu's speech was partisan. But take a look at the vote in Congress a couple of weeks ago, and that vote was overwhelmingly bipartisan and overwhelmingly positive. And I think that some of the arguments that Prime Minister Netanyahu made to Congress helped to build that ultimate consensus. Frankly, I wish that President Obama would do with Prime Minister Netanyahu what he just did with the leaders of the Gulf Cooperation Council, and invite Prime Minister Netanyahu to Camp David to just sit together and hash out some of the differences between them. That's the only way to get it to a better place. And then to talk about specific actions that both of them can take to build more confidence in the other. Because the U.S. and Israel need each other. I mean, Israel needs the U.S. more than the U.S. needs Israel. But in a Middle East that is now as unstable as it is, Israel remains the only ally which the U.S. knows will be with us in a time of conflict or crisis, and we don't want to jeopardize that.
How much do you think the Obama administration shares or bears responsibility for the current situation in the Middle East?
The Obama administration didn't create Islamist extremism and terrorism, but there's no question that the position that the Obama administration has taken since it came into office, that, as the president puts it, he wanted to get America out of wars, not get America into wars, has resulted in a perception that America is pulling back. And when America pulls back, America's enemies jump in. And that's what has happened here in the Middle East. The extremists, now expressing themselves through the Islamic State, are on the move. Iran is on the move. I mean, it's now playing a dominant role in Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, and Yemen, and some role in Afghanistan. And you know, we're good. Where the forces of good are not strong and aggressive, the forces of evil will fill the vacuum. And I fear that that is what has happened here in the Middle East.
So looking ahead to the 2016 presidential race, how much do you think Israel will become a campaign issue?
It's a good question, and my guess is that the Republican candidate, whoever that is, will want to make Israel an issue in the election, which is to say to criticize the Obama administration for not having given adequate support to Israel. It will then be a challenge to the Democratic nominee, who I presume will be Secretary Clinton, to rebut that and to do it in personal terms. In other words, if she's running in her own right, not as the candidate of the Obama administration. And so I think in the end, the choice will be between two actively pro-Israel candidates, one Republican and one Democratic.
And this is just a long shot. Have you decided who you're going to support?
No, I haven't. I'm enjoying just being able to sit back and watch it happen for a while, but knowing myself, sometime next year I'll get involved.
Senator Lieberman, thank you very much for speaking with us.
Thank you, Tal.